so today I decided it was time to dive into some of the outside exterior labor that I've kind of been putting off, to be honest. Now, the frame of this camper is in pretty good shape. Very, very little surface rust. But nonetheless, I really wanted to clean it up, I want it to look better, and I want to protect it. So I bought off Amazon some Magnet Paint Company Chassis Saver. Now, this stuff says you just paint it right on top of rust. It does say to use a wire brush, wire wheel, and knock off some of that surface rust. So that's what I did. And it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Just getting underneath there and crawling around, getting the right angles, keeping all that stuff out of my face wasn't fun. You see, I wore some PPE to kind of keep it out of my eyes, keep it out of my lungs. I sanded it all down with that wire wheel, and I used a nice little leaf blower to kind of knock all that surface stuff off of there. Now, as I was working on this rear bumper, I wanted to get those reflective stickers off of that bumper. I really didn't want to paint over top of them, but I figured if I couldn't get them off with a wire wheel, at least some of them, you see I got one or two off, then it wasn't coming off. So yes, I'm going to end up painting right over top of them. Well, that pretty much sucked, guys. I'm going to regroup. You know that I'm doing that so that I can paint it. Clean myself, just wipe myself off a little bit, although not too much. Gotta crawl back under there once again. All right, so I'm gonna get started here in just a minute, but to show you guys what I'm working with here, got this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the video. It is Chassis Saver Rust Preventive Paint. I don't know if that's the brand or anything like that. It was like $40, $43 for this quart. So I've read it goes pretty far. My intention is that I'm going to do the visible places first. I do want to protect as much of the under chassis as I can, but you know, if what I could see, like, I don't know, this job, we're going to do what we can do. We're going to get by with what we can get by. It's probably not going to be a perfect protective coat, you know. I mean, to do that, you probably need to take the whole camper off of the chassis or need to lift the thing up in the air and get it. So we're going to get what we can. We'll see if we get through it, but I'm going to start with the areas you can see. And then I'll go under the body. Hopefully I have enough to do 2 coats at least in the areas you can see. And then also for some of the harder to reach places, and I'm going to use all of this. That's my intention, is to use up every bit of this, throw these away. But then I got a spray can. This is Jegg's brand chassis paint. You know, I know some of those spots, some of those corners and stuff, like, I'm not even really planning on getting out a brush. I'm going to roll it on, and I'm going to get this one. That's what I'm going to do. So let's get started. You know, it's kind of funny because I'll make a plan. I'll say I'm going to do this way. And then 5 seconds later, I change that plan up. So you can't really tell, but I ended up going underneath the frame there all the way up to that back door of the camper. Then I started working on that rear bumper. I should mention real quick that this stuff was $42.99 off Amazon. That was the price. I said like $43. I happen to be right. I'm looking it up, making sure I'm telling you guys the right information there. Now, something else I didn't realize till after the fact, actually the next day, was this was all 1 coat coverage. This stuff went on. I used the full quart, pretty much got the entire frame painted, and did not need to come back over. When it went on, it stayed on, and there was no more needed. With that being said, I also learned a valuable lesson. If I'm ever using this product again, wear gloves, wear a paint suit, wear whatever. I've been trying to get this stuff off of my hands, off of my arms for a few days now. I've used gasoline, I've used contractor solvent, I've taken multiple showers, I've used mineral spirits. This stuff is eventually coming off. I think it's going to take me a few more attempts, but it didn't come off as easy as typical paint, that's for darn sure. I also need to mention super quick while we're looking at this angle underneath the camper that I got that frame as good as I could. I know there are some spots it's not perfectly covered. I was actually kind of reaching back on that back side of the framework at times and just painting and rolling where I couldn't see what I was getting. And maybe the last piece of advice for you is keep the safety glasses on when painting under this stuff. I took mine off, but I'm lucky I didn't get a bunch of that stuff in my eyes. Alright, so I used up all that chassis paint. Decided I am not crawling underneath that camper again. I did get the whole surface area. There might be a little bit underneath in the back side, you know, like the inner sides where the paint roller, because I was kind of working without seeing what I was doing a lot of the times. So there's a few spots where it's not 100% coverage. I just decided I'm not going back underneath there. I did use that spray can just to touch up a couple of the small, hard to get areas on the exterior, such as down in this where the hitch goes, like where the ball joint would sit. Basically here, I'm just jabbering, but I couldn't get my roller in there. So yeah, I used that spray can, hit a couple spots. I got plenty of it left over. I was gonna use it all, but I'm done. That's it. That's the coverage it's getting. So we're moving on to the next little project. I wanted to get a few done today. That became a big project, so I might not get as much done work outside the camper as I wanted to. But next up, this guard. This guard is to keep from rocks and stuff breaking your windows when you're traveling down the road. It's locked right now, that's why I didn't open. Anyways, you can see that side looks fine. This side, it's very evident that it's come apart, and when you lift it, it kind of sits wonky and flop-sided. So I want to fix that. So we're gonna climb up here. I can't really, not really a good spot up here to hold you guys and work on this, hold the camera and work on this. So I wanted to show you, it's very simple. This is just, this metal bracket goes in and it's rivets, and those rivets have come apart. So I'm gonna take a drill. I'm gonna drill through, get rid of all that. I do have a hammer to lightly tap that back out down into place. Yeah, it doesn't slide in the sides. It's the exact size dimensions it's supposed to be. And then I'm gonna rivet it shut. How do rivets work? This is a good time to tell you. Well, with magic. Yeah, they're magic, you know. Unicorns and rainbows. They, the one piece of metal touches another and voila, it's done. No, I'm just kidding. So you get a rivet gun, you slide this long part inside of it, you put this in a hole right here like that, and you push down, and basically this long piece of metal, to my understanding, is going to push and kind of spread the back side of this, spreads everything out, and it feels when it all clamps down or whatever. I mean, I don't know that's in or outs of it, but it'll snap a little bit of this off, and it's a nice little way to use metal on metal and get it to work. So there you go. That's how rivets work, sort of, from a guy who doesn't really completely understand. But I know how to use a rivet gun, so that's all that matters, right? Well, I got him. Took me a minute. Broke my small drill bit in half, but oh well. Took me a minute, but we got it. Sits nice and flush now. Well, I didn't open it up all the way, but that's a nice little small victory to have. It took me 3 or 4 tries to get it. Had to re-drill the hole out just a little bit and use a slightly bigger rivet, but you know, just something as simple as that thing sitting in that right side, like not being attached and flapping, drove me nuts. So 15-20 minutes, I've had this thing a year, finally got that one done. So I was trying to decide what I was going to do with the front end of this, with this guard that protects the windows, because it didn't look very good like it was. And my wife, she asked if my daughter and her could paint a rainbow on it. Now, I think that's cute and all, but I don't necessarily want a rainbow permanently on this thing. That's when I came up to the idea, use chalkboard paint. They can do whatever they want with it. I feel like one of the biggest shockers to me when I started getting into a camper is that these LP gas covers like don't secure down or anything. The bracket, the base for this is exactly the same as what's currently on there. There's no latch or anything on the bottom. They just sit over the top. I guess that explains why you see some people that have them and they have like a bungee cord over them. Maybe they're like me and they're afraid that the wind's going to catch underneath them and they're going to take off. Or I don't know, maybe there's different companies and different kinds, and some do latch. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but the one I have, the bracket that came with it, I didn't even put on because it was exactly the same as the base that was on this camper already. So anyways, I had a whole lot more in mind. I had a whole lot more I intended to do today, but as usual, time got away from me. So that's going to do it for this one. Like, comment, and subscribe.